So welcome everyone to our Office of Finance Alteryx Designer webinar hosted by Data Meaning. So today we are going to talk a little bit about the Office of Finance and what Alteryx can bring as benefits for you. We are going to talk a little bit about us, about me, Don, Data Meaning, with a brief introduction. What is Alteryx? And we're also presenting you some Office of Finance use cases. And that's the part that most of you are interested in. So we'll be presenting some different audit, tax, accounting use cases that will help you to achieve your goals on your day-to-day activity and will make your day-to-day activity easier than it's now. So let's get started. So my name is Sunny Martins. I am a team lead here from the enablement and training team from Data Meaning. I have a different background from what you guys assume, coming from an IT consultant. I actually am graduated in law. I have some studies on tax law, and I'm also graduated in accounting. And of course, I have some study too on the IT side of things, but we like to joke that I am kind of like a living proof use case for Alteryx. So a lawyer now is teaching and helping everyone to use Alteryx. So that's how you can see that this is super easy to use. On the screen, you have my email and my LinkedIn. If you want to get in touch, please feel free to shoot me a message. Together with me, we have Donald Glazier. He's also from the enablement and training team. He's an associate. You also have his contacts in here. He will be presenting himself a little bit better later when he starts to present the use case for you. That being said, let's talk now a little bit about Data Meaning. So who is Data Meaning? Data Meaning is a boutique business intelligence consulting firm. So we are a BI consulting firm. We offer end-to-end BI solutions. What that means? So we go directly to the database, working on the structure, working on the engineering, the architecture of things, all the way to presenting, passing through data prep, manipulation, and so on. So we have end-to-end BI solutions that we can help you. We have consultants from around the globe. You may have noticed by my accent that I'm not a native speaker. So I am from Brazil. We have people in India. We have people in Denmark, Germany. So we have a lot of people in Europe, in the US, and in Brazil. And now we're expanding to Latin America. So you're probably going to see some Spanish people also here. And we are going to present some Spanish webinars in the upcoming months. So keep tuned. And if you do know anybody who speaks Spanish and want to know a little bit more of Alteryx Designer, just send them this news that Data Meaning is now also speaking Spanish. So we have different types of services. As I said, I am the team lead for the education and training. We also have people for business intelligence, data management, change management, and delivery management. And Data Meaning is partnered with a lot of different platforms such as AWS, Tableau, Informatica, Snowflake, Alation, Azure, Cloudera, Matillion, and of course, Alteryx. So today is going to be all about Alteryx. And luckily, we just won the Partner of the Year on the SKO this year. So we are the Partner of the Year 2022 from Alteryx. We talked about us. Now let's talk about Alteryx. So what is Alteryx? And why should we use it? So we know, and I know exactly what you guys are facing on your day-to-day activity. So prior to be a BI consultant, I worked on an audit firm, so a Big Four, and I wasted a lot of time using spreadsheets, manual entries. I had to use a lot of different types of data and had to blend and do all of those manual stuff to get to the result that I needed. We saw that 26 hours per day per week are spent on manual spreadsheets tasks. So VLOOKUPs, blending, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, like spending time waiting for Excel to respond, or those kind of things. And that's not even the worst of the problems. You did it this time. Whenever you receive again your next task, you have to do it all over again. You will always be doing the same manual tasks to get to your goal. And that's not the idea here. So the ideal word would be to have something that would help you to avoid those manual tasks. And that's what Alteryx is for. So it will help you to automate those processes. But then you'll say, yeah, but for learning how to work with Alteryx and all of those different types of platforms, I would have to know how to program. I'm not from IT, I am an analyst. And I would say, that's totally fine. As I said, I was a lawyer before. Because we know that it's easier to train accountants, lawyers, auditors, tax accountants in advanced analytics than is to train IT to develop the IT developers in accounting. Why that? Because you know what you need, you know what you want. And if you have a tool that is easy to use, you'll be definitely ready to get your goal and to develop what you need. Why that? Because you know exactly the steps that you have to do to get your goal. So it's easier for you to put in practice what you already know how to do in a different way. But it's harder to teach everything that is on the back end, just like which laws you need to use, why you're doing this or that, debit or credit, or all of those stuffs regarding the topics that we are talking today, like Office of Finance, to the IT developer that will only know the logic. So that's why we use Alteryx, because Alteryx is a proven globally technology, use it for over 8,000 customers in 39% of the Global 2000. So there are a lot of different companies that are inside of the Global 2000, the biggest 2000 companies in the world that uses Alteryx. It's a unified platform that you can use to do analytics, data science, process automation, machine learning, and also artificial intelligence, all in one. So you can develop all your reports, everything inside of Alteryx. You can go directly to your database and use it. And it's really simple to use that. Do you know the Lego blocks? So if you already played with Lego blocks, you definitely be able to use Alteryx. Why? Because it's a self-service tool. We have over 300 analytics automation building blocks. So those Lego blocks that you just put one on top of the other to create your own castle, your own house, or anything, that's exactly what you're going to play in here. So you have those blocks, you just connect one and another and say like, hey, here you're going to input, here you're going to transform, here you're going to filter. And at the end, you have your process. Within more than 8 input sources and more than 40 different formats of output, you'll be able to deliver anything you want inside of Alteryx. We have a very strong ecosystem. So we have a lot of partners that has directly connections inside of Alteryx. We won customers' choices on Gartner, and we have a very strong and active community inside of the internet. So we have over 250,000 members with more than 24,000 published solutions. So there are a lot of things inside of the internet regarding Alteryx inside of the community. So you will be able to train yourself, to have access to a lot of different articles, and simply ask the experts that are on the community. And we told you all about that because we wanted to show you that approximately 60% of the audit, accounting, tax process, they can be automated. So at least somewhat can be automated. If not fully or highly automated, something can be automated. And if something is being automated, it's already helping you. But if you can fully or highly automate something, then you won't need to even touch this process. And you won't have to do everything over again every time that you receive a new file. That being said, I will toss it over to Donald Glazier that will showcase you some of the different use cases from the Office of Finance that we wanted to present to you. Thank you very much. Go on, Don.
Awesome. Thanks, Javi. Hi, everybody. My name's Don Glazier, and I am an associate here at Data Meeting with the training and enablement team. And I wanted to just give you guys a little bit of my background. So I initially went to school for finance and accounting when I started my professional career. I essentially lived in Microsoft Excel, and then I was introduced to Alteryx at around 2018, and I loved the tool. I loved how easy it was to use. I loved how easily we could drive towards those insights. So as Hani had mentioned before, he's a really good use case for Alteryx. I'm a good use case as well. I went from being on the finance and the accounting side of things into the data analytics and automation side. So Office of Finance is one of my favorite things to talk about. And I am to share my screen. And before we get into taking a look at these use cases that we have, we're going to be taking a look at a asset liability reconciliation. We're going to be taking a look at reading in PDF invoices. And we're also going to be taking a look at indirect tax, sales, and use. And two of these three workflows we're going to be taking a look at today. So the asset liability reconciliation and then the indirect tax, sales, and use are actually going to be available to us within a Alteryx starter kit. What a starter kit is a bunch of workflows that are pre-built, that are packaged together based on a particular area. So today we're going to be focusing on the Office of Finance, and I want to show everybody how we can go through and download the starter kit. So the starter kits are free to access. It's something that you will download and then it'll be automatically dropped into your Alteryx Designer. And I'll show everybody how we can go through and bring up those starter kits. But for the download process for the starter kits, if we open up our web browser and search Alteryx starter kits, the first non-sponsored item should be the alteryx.com, and the link should be to the starter kits. So if you want to open up a web browser to download the Office of Finance starter kit that we're going to be taking a look at today, again, we want to Google Alteryx starter kits and then go to the starter kit link. And this is going to direct us to all of the different Alteryx starter kits that are going to be available to us. There's a lot of different starter kits for us to choose from. We have starter kits for AWS. We have starter kits for the banking and financial services, starter kits for customer analytics. But today's focus is going to be on starter kit for the Office of Finance. So what I'm going to do after I've selected the starter kit link is I'm going to select the search option. And within the resources, I'm going to type in Office of Finance, and then I'll select search. And Alteryx will bring up our starter kit for Office of Finance. So this is going to help reduce time and effort that has been spent manually wrangling and reconciling data with legacy tools and processes, and it's going to help us to innovate and modernize our financial processes with automated self-service analytics. So we've got a brief overview of what this particular starter kit is going to have to offer. And if we select the Learn More option, we're going to be taken to the download page for the Office of Finance starter kit. We've got different templates for different areas in tax, different areas in audit. And again, today, the asset and liability reconciliation and the indirect tax, sales, and use are going to be the focus, which is going to be available to us within this starter kit. So the starter kit's free to download. It's very easy to add on to your Alteryx. We'll just enter in our email address. We'll enter in our country. If we're in the United States, we'll enter in our state. We'll include our first and our last name, as well as our company. We'll include our phone, our function. So I'm going to select BI Analytics for myself. And then as a role, I'm going to select a educator. And then once we check the box for the CAPTCHA, letting Alteryx know that we're not a robot, and we select submit, Alteryx is automatically going to download a .exe file for us. And by opening up this download, we are then going to be able to add these different starter kits into Alteryx Designer. Now, the thing to keep in mind when we are adding these starter kits, we want to make sure that we have our Alteryx Designer, the desktop application, closed down when we're going through and we're doing this download. And then once the download is complete, we've configured the .exe file. We can open Alteryx Designer back up, and we'll be able to take a look at the different workflows that are going to be available within the Office of Finance Starter Kit that we're going to be taking a look at just a little bit later on. And another really useful resource, this was if I could go back in time and give my previous self, when I was learning how to use Alteryx, one thing, it would be this link. So if we Google Alteryx for Microsoft Excel users, the very first link is going to be an Alteryx guide for Excel users. And it's going to give us a side-by-side comparison of what you would do in Excel and then how we can automate and replicate that within Alteryx. So this Alteryx for Microsoft Excel Analysts, at least for me, pivoting from the Excel world into the Alteryx world, this would have been an absolute game changer. So I always want to make sure that I'm spreading this resource to everybody that I speak with, because this was something that I really wish that I would have. So again, we can go to our preferred web browser. We will search Alteryx for Excel users and then open up the Alteryx guide for Excel users. And this, again, is going to give us a side-by-side of how we would do something in Excel and then how we would go through and replicate that and automate that within Alteryx Designer. So these are going to be an excellent resource when you're starting on your Alteryx journey. And as Hani had mentioned before, we have 3 different use cases for today. We're going to be taking a look at a company asset liability reconciliation. We're going to be taking a look at a PDF invoice reader. And then we're going to be taking a look at a indirect tax sales and use. And the reconciliation and the indirect tax sales and use are going to be available to us within our Office of Finance Starter Kit. So for the asset liability reconciliation, we have 3 different data sources. We've got some asset data. We have some liabilities data. And as we can see here, it looks like we have a lot of values for our liability data. So we're going to want to make sure that we do some cleansing here. And then we also have some data from our SQL server that has our ID and then our total assets and our total liabilities as well. Now, a common challenge is that the asset and liability reconciliation data can come from a lot of different data sources. And the reconciliation process itself is a very time-consuming manual process that is prone to human error. Now, the good news about Alteryx is wherever there is a challenge, there is also going to be a solution. The solution that we're going to be taking a look at today is going to be to use Alteryx to automate the data preparation and blending process, as well as the asset and liability reconciliation process. And then we're going to be able to write out to numerous different data sources and data types as well. And in this first example, we're going to look at Microsoft Excel and then writing out to Tableau as well. So I'm going to open up my Alteryx Designer. And again, just to show the group how we go through and access the starter kits that we have just downloaded. If we go up to our very top ribbon and we select the help option, after we select help, there's going to be an option for sample workflows. And this is where all of our starter kits are going to be housed. So I have a lot of different starter kits here. Again, all of the starter kits are free and they're very easy to download and use. For the asset liability reconciliation and the indirect tax sales and use, we're going to want to go to, the help tab in the top ribbon. We're going to go to sample workflows. Then we're going to go to the Office of Finance Starter Kit. We can select our language, and we're going to select the Office of Finance Asset and Liability Reconciliation. And just a high-level overview for those of you who might not be as familiar with Alteryx. So Alteryx is a drag-and-drop code-free and code-friendly tool that's going to make it really easy for us to drive towards usable insights very, very quickly. And it's important to keep in mind that we aren't going to be constrained by the data types or the data sources that we can connect to. We can connect to virtually any data source and database. So whether we want to connect to something that's on our machine, whether it's something that we would like to connect to that's on our work drive, or something that is on a server or a database like SQL Server, for example, Alteryx is going to make it really easy for us to establish these connections. And in this particular example, again, we've got some asset data. We have some liability data that has a lot of null values that we're going to want to clean up. So we're going to be taking a look at some data cleansing today. And then we also have a data source that's emulating a connection to a SQL server. So again, when we're using Alteryx, we're not going to be limited to the data sources and the data types that we can connect to. We can connect to virtually anything. And we don't have a cap as far as how many different inputs or how many different data sources we would like to bring into our workflow. So we could have 2, we could have 25, we could have 250. We don't have any ceiling constraints as to how many different data sources or inputs we can have within our workflow. So again, Alteryx is going to be that drag and drop functionality, and we're going to be using these different building blocks that are going to have different functions. So Alteryx is going to make it really easy for us to blend our data together. It's going to make it very easy to cleanse our data. So as we can see here, we were able to successfully cleanse our null values. And then it's also going to be very easy to build out calculations as well. So for the Office of Finance, when we're going through it, we're building out these workflows, being able to build out those expressions, build out those formulas is going to be a very essential component. And what's going to be really nice about the starter kit workflows is each of the tools is going to have a sample configuration. There's going to be a text explanation underneath the tools outlining what the tool is doing. And then we also have different areas of our work. So for the asset liability reconciliation, we've got our data access section. We have our data preparation and blending. And the data preparation is going to be a key step in most of the workflows that we're building out. So a lot of times when we're connecting to different data sources, the data isn't going to be perfectly clean. So we're going to want to make sure that we're going through and we are cleansing and preparing our data. This is a common step that we are going to be seeing in the majority of the workflows that we're going to be building out. Then we also have our reconciliation section and our output section where we're going to be outputting to Tableau and Excel. Now, kind of in line with the link that I showed a little bit earlier, the Alteryx for Microsoft Excel users, there are going to be some functionalities within Alteryx that are going to be kind of a direct exchange or a direct correlation between what you would do within Microsoft Excel. So we have the ability to build out the equivalent to a VLOOKUP within our join tool. And then we also have the ability to build out something similar to a pivot table within our summarize tool. So Alteryx is going to make it very, very easy for us to aggregate our data. And the key step for the asset liability reconciliation is going to be building out different reconciliation flags. So we're going to be able to make it really easy to identify where the digits are lining up and then ones that might be a little bit off. So the filter or the formula and the expression building is really only limited to your imagination. If you can dream it, if you can think it, you can build it within Alteryx. And then in the asset and liability reconciliation, it's important for us to gain an understanding around what is reconciling and then what isn't reconciling. So here we're using a filter tool that is acting as a point of control, which is allowing us to identify the areas where the reconciliation isn't lining up. And here we have all of the items that are lining up being outputted to a Tableau dashboard. So similar to what we had discussed before with our inputs, where we can connect to a variety of different data sources, we can also output to a variety of different data sources as well. So whether you'd like to output to a more traditional Microsoft Excel file, whether you would like to output to a CSV file, or maybe you want to write out data to a database or write up to a visualization software like Tableau or Click or Power BI. We're going to have all of those functions available to us within Alteryx. And the beautiful thing about building out these Alteryx workflows is after the initial lift of building out the workflow has been complete, as long as the schema of our input file and our output file doesn't change significantly, we can just drop in our updated input files, hit the blue run button, and receive our output. So this is where the automation is going to come into play. And this is where we're going to start seeing both hours saved and then dollars saved as well. If you have a process that is very manual that you're performing maybe on a weekly or a monthly or a quarterly or a yearly basis, if you build out an Alteryx workflow, once the workflow is built, again, as long as the input and the output doesn't change significantly, you can leverage what you already built in the future. So again, Alteryx is going to be a data analytics and automation tool. And this is where we're going to start seeing those hours saved and then the dollars saved as well. And again, the asset and liability reconciliation is going to be available to us within our starter kit. So we'll go up to help. We'll go to sample workflows. We can go down to our Office of Finance starter kit. I'll select English, and then we're going to have all of the different Office of Finance workflows that have been pre-built. So these are going to be really good to leverage when you're going through and you're building out your own processes as a guide for the workflow creation. So that was the asset and liability reconciliation. Now I'm going to take a brief look at the PDF invoice reader. Now, I do want to preface this by saying the invoices reader PDF isn't something that's going to be available to us within our starter kit, but the asset liability reconciliation and then the indirect tax, sales and use are both going to be available to us within that starter kit. So for the invoice PDF reader, a common issue is that manually reviewing these PDF invoices is both a time-consuming process that is prone to human error. Now, the good news about this is Alteryx has a set of OCR tools, they're called computer vision, that are going to allow us to read in not only PDFs, but other images as well. So whether you want to read in a PNG, whether you want to read in a JPEG, whether you're trying to pull in a scanned, non-editable PDF, we can use these tools to extract our data and then put them into a column and row-based format that's going to be a lot easier to analyze. So the solution is using Alteryx to automate the validation of the invoices, which is going to eliminate the need to manually verify each of these invoices. So let's take a look at what this workflow would look like. And again, these different tools that we are going to be focusing on for this second workflow, this reading in of the PDF invoices, those are going to be available to us within the computer vision side of things. Now, that is going to be part of the Alteryx Intelligence Suite, which is going to be an additional add-on to Alteryx Designer. So the OCR capabilities, the machine learning capabilities, and then the text mining capabilities aren't going to be included within the base designer license. They're going to be included within the Alteryx Intelligence Suite, which is going to be an additional component that can be added on to your Alteryx workflow. So when we're going through and we're taking a look at this workflow, if for some reason you're following along and you don't see the computer vision tools up on your tool palette, that's totally fine. That just means that you don't have an active Intelligence Suite license, and that might be something that would be worthwhile pursuing. So within this Intelligence Suite PDF image input, we are going to be reading in a folder of different PDF invoices. So we're going to have all of the invoices that we would like to read into Alteryx. And this is going to be there's going to be a few components to this process. We're going to be able to tell Alteryx all of the files that we would like to bring in. In this particular case, we're going to be looking at PDF files. And then we also have the ability to tell Alteryx what we would like to bring in within those PDFs. So within our template tool that we're taking a look at here, we've got the ability to select different areas that we would like to have Alteryx read in. And then we can also enter in the title of the field and then also the type as well, whether we want a string, an image, or a table. And in this particular case, I'm going to be reading in the invoice. I'm going to be reading in the total amount in US dollars. I'm going to be reading in the payment due date, the legal domicile, and then the sales tax as well. So with these tools within the computer vision, which again is our OCR capabilities, it's going to make it very easy for us to select what we would like within each of those PDFs to be extracted from those files, whether it's a PDF, whether it's an image. And in the most recent version, we actually have a direct PDF to text tool, which is really, really cool. And then since now we have all of our PDFs, and we also have the different areas of the PDF that we would like to bring in, there is going to be essentially a joining together of these two different components. And now we can see within my results window down below, we have all of the data that we had selected within our template. So we've got our invoice, we have our due date, we've got our legal domicile, our sales tax, and then our total as well. So we've been able to successfully bring those values in from those PDF files. And then after doing some simple manipulations and cleansing, we now have all of the data that interests us from our PDF within a text and columns format, which is going to make it both a lot easier to review and a lot easier to build off an analysis as well. So the OCR tools, the computer vision, are going to be very, very useful. In this particular case, we saw how we can go from a folder full of PDFs. We can select a template, identifying what area of the PDF we would like to read into Alteryx. And then we're doing some simple manipulation and data cleansing to kind of cut our data down just to the information that we are interested in focusing on. So this computer vision, this OCR capability is very, very powerful. And again, it's going to be included within the Alteryx Intelligence Suite. So that's going to include the OCR tools, that's going to include the machine learning capabilities, and that's also going to include our text mining capabilities as well. And those different offerings, again, are going to be part of the Alteryx Intelligence Suite. It's not going to come pre-built into our Alteryx Designer. We would have to have a separate license to access these different tools, but we do see a significant amount of time saving and dollar savings with these tools. So they are very, very powerful, and they can take your Alteryx analytics journey up to the next level. So a lot of really cool functionality here. And again, this is going to be something included within the starter kit. So just, something to keep in mind. And then let's take a look at our final workflow for today, which is going to be our indirect tax, sales, and use. So again, we've got the three different data sources that we are going to be bringing in together. And these could be something on our local machine. These could be something on our network drive. And then they could also be something from a database or a server as well. And then we can also pull data down from a API as well. So when you're going through and you're building out your workflows, if for some reason you aren't seeing a pre-built connector to a particular data source, if we can access the API to that data source, we can still bring all of our data into Alteryx. So we've got a lot of different options available to us when we want to read data into Alteryx Designer. And for this third and final use case, we've got some subscription data. We've got some zip code information by state. And then we also have some state tax rates as well. And again, the challenge that we have is a lot of times the sales and use tax data is going to be coming from multiple sources that need to be blended together and are going to require a lot of different calculations. So the solution for this particular use case that we have is we want to leverage Alteryx to automate the manipulation and preparation of data. Again, the preparation side of things is going to be a very important aspect. We're going to use Alteryx to blend together our data sources to create our tax calculations and also to create customizable reports as well. So let's take a look at what this will look like within our Alteryx Designer. So again, this is a starter kit workflow. So if we go up to Help, Sample Workflows, Office of Finance Starter Kit, and English, we can open up our Office of Finance Indirect Tax, Sales, and Use Tax. And since this is a starter kit workflow, we again have it broken up into different sections. We've got a section for our data access, a section for our data preparation, date and time formatting, a section for blending our data together and aggregating our data, a section for building out those calculations, and then a section for outputting our reports. And again, within the starter kit, in addition to these different areas, we also have a text explanation of what the tool is doing, and then a sample data set and a sample configuration. So let's take a look at the very beginning. And again, we can connect to essentially any data source, whether we want to connect to a server or a database, whether we would like to connect to a file that's stored locally on our machine or something that's on a shared network path. We can make all of those connections within Alteryx. And again, the data preparation, and I want to make sure that I'm stressing this point. The data preparation is going to be an essential part for any of our workflows. This is going to clean up our data. This is going to aggregate our data. It's going to blend it together. So when we're going through it, we're looking to build out those more robust calculations. Our data is going to be where it needs to be to successfully build out those calculations. So we have the ability to do filtering within Alteryx. We've got the ability to build out custom expressions using this formula tool. And it's also important to note that within this formula tool here, we see that we have 4 different formula tools. We're not limited to one formula within each formula tool. We can essentially have as many expressions as we would like. So when we're going through it, we're building out these expressions, we're building out these calculations. Alteryx has a very robust expression editor that's going to help you build out your expressions. It's going to have a auto function where, let's say, for example, we wanted to do NPV. Alteryx is going to let us know the syntax that we're going to have for those particular expressions. And then also all of the variables that are going to be required for the expression that we're looking to build out. So when you're getting acclimated to Alteryx and you're converting that knowledge from Excel into Alteryx, using this expression editor within our formula tool is going to make it very easy to build out those custom expressions. And then again, for the data blending and aggregation, there is going to be some overlap with different functions that we would have within Excel that we can build out within Alteryx. So we can build out a VLOOKUP within our join tool where we're joining based on a common column between our data sets. And then we can also use the summarize tool to build out essentially the equivalent to a pivot table. So all of the important features and functionalities that you have within Excel are going to be available within Alteryx as well. And when Alteryx was created and they coded the desktop application that you're going to be using within Alteryx Designer, they built it out in a way that's going to make it as easy as possible for Excel users to build out. So Excel users' Office of Finance is a very prime use case for when we can use Alteryx successfully. And then in addition to the VLOOKUP and the pivot table functions, we can also build out other data blending functions. We can append our data to a main data set, and then we can also use a find and replace as well. So we've got a lot of different options available to us when we want to prepare our data. We have a lot of different options available to us when we want to blend our data. And then we're going to have a lot of different options available to us when we want to aggregate our data as well. And then again, we do have the ability to build out those more robust tax calculations using the formula tool in Alteryx, building out those expressions and using the expression editor. And then once we have our data in a place that we're comfortable with, again, we can write out to Microsoft Excel files, we can write out to CSVs, we can write out to databases, we can essentially write out to any source that you would be looking to write out to. And we also have the ability to embed different formatting within Alteryx Designer. So let's say, for example, we wanted to add in different conditional formatting based on our state tax amount. We're going to be able to do that within Alteryx. So normally when we write out to an Excel file, for example, the format is going to be a flat format. There isn't going to be any conditional formatting. There isn't going to be any highlighting. But we do have a tool where we can add in those formatting options if that was something that you were interested in. So here we have a table that has a bolding and a highlight for all of our column headers. And we have different conditional formatting added in based on the amount that we have within our state taxes. And all of that's going to be happening within our Create Table tool. So we can add different rows where we can add in conditional formatting based on a particular condition for one of our columns. So in this particular example, we have two different row rules built out based on what the state tax amount is. So this is going to be really useful when we want to highlight different areas of our data that maybe are worthwhile doing a little bit more investigation. Maybe a amount is much higher than we had anticipated. Maybe an amount is much lower than we had anticipated. We can use this Create Table tool to embed that conditional formatting to our Alteryx workflow and then output to a lot of different data types. So whether we want to output to a PDF, whether we want to output to a Microsoft Excel file, all of those options are going to be available to us. And then finally, we have the ability to email out the output from our Alteryx workflow. So whenever a workflow is run, if we wanted to make sure that the output in the data was sent to the right people, we can use the email tool and we can stipulate who we would like to send the output to. We can send it out to one person. We can send it out to multiple people. And then we can also stipulate where it's coming from, the subject, and then the information that we would like to include as well. So in addition to those more traditional output options, the Excels, the CSVs, the writing out to different databases, we do have the ability to write out and have Alteryx automatically generate and send out an email as well that can include all of the different information that we have within our Alteryx workflow. And again, to summarize, to kind of close up the use case demonstration, once these workflows are built out, once the tools have been configured, a lot of times we see the repeatable automation come in for processes that are very manual. You're performing a very clearly delineated process. You want to do X, Y, and Z on this type of file every week or every month or every quarter or every year. We can use Alteryx Designer and replicate, automate these processes. That's where we're going to start seeing the time savings and the dollar savings as well. And then there's also an option for Alteryx Server, which is a web-based application where there's going to be a scheduling component. So maybe you didn't want to open up a workflow and have it run on your personal machine. You wanted to have it run up on the cloud. You can use Alteryx Server for that. So we can schedule our workflows. And it's also really helpful for a sharing and collaboration perspective as well. So as Hani had mentioned before, this is a beginning to a end option from bringing in our data, preparing our data, manipulating our data, joining it together, building out those custom expressions, to outputting to whatever format we would prefer, whether it's a flat file like an Excel file, whether we would like to embed in those conditional formatting using the reporting tools, or whether we would like to write out to a database, we're going to be able to do all of that within Alteryx. So a lot of different features and functionalities here. Alteryx is, as I said before, it was designed to be picked up very, very quickly. So there is going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but you'll be amazed at how quickly you can pick up the software and drive towards those usable insights using the Alteryx Designer. And again, to summarize, we took a look at 3 different workflows today. We took a look at a asset liability reconciliation, which again is going to be available to us within our Office of Finance Starter Kit. We took a look at reading in different PDF files. So we took a look at how we can read in PDF invoices and convert that information from a image-based format to a row and a column-based format, which is going to make it a lot easier to analyze. And then we also took a look at a workflow for indirect tax sales and use. And again, this is going to be the second of the 4 different Office of Finance workflows that are going to be available to us within that starter kit. But again, we aren't going to be limited to just the Office of Finance for the starter kit. There are going to be a lot of different options available to us. There is no limit for the amount of starter kits we can have. And again, starter kits are going to be free, and it's a great way to get a jump start on your Alteryx journey. So I will stop sharing, and I will pass it back to Connie for the end of our session.
Thank you, Don. Let me just open my camera and share my screen again. So Don shared with you some of the use cases that we can work within Alteryx, but that's not the end. We have several other different types of use cases that we can have. And this list here is also not putting every single use case that we can use. Here is some other use cases from the Office of Finance for accounting and operations, tax, audit, treasury, FP&A, and business decision support. So you can see here that you can use Alteryx for profitability analysis, fraud detection, general ledger management, tax forecasting, provisioning, calculation, fraud. I already said fraud detection, but for audit, SOX compliance, expense and claims audit, working capital managing for treasury, cash flow forecasting, cash repatriation, and also for FP&A, we have strategic sales analysis and forecasting, reconciliation, pricing, real estate planning. So there are a lot of different use cases that we can use Alteryx for. And if you do have any of those use cases, if you do want to contact us, please feel free to send us a message. And if you have any questions, contact us through info@datameaning.com. Mine is honey.martins@datameaning.com. We have also donald.glazier@datameaning.com. So we received some nice comments here on the direct message. Thank you very much for the messages and the feedback regarding this session. It was awesome to have you guys here. You'll be receiving the recordings after the session, so you'll be receiving an email within the recordings. So thank you very much. And if you do have any other questions, please feel free to reach us. Thank you so much, and see you in another opportunity.